Has your partner ever abandoned you at your lowest? What happened? My wife divorced me the day I buried my dad, then brought her new boyfriend into our home and demanded half of my inheritance. The manila envelope hit our kitchen table with a sound that changed everything. Heather slid it toward me like she was dealing a final hand of cards, her new boyfriend Derek nodding beside her while some lawyer in a cheap suit shuffled papers. I stood there holding my dad's photo albums, still wearing the black suit from his funeral that morning. The kitchen smelled like the casserole our neighbor had brought over, food for grieving that would go cold and untouched. These are divorce papers. I've already filed them with the court. Heather's voice was flat, businesslike, like she was returning a defective appliance. No condolences, no acknowledgement that I'd just buried the man who raised me alone after my mom died when I was 12. You're serving me divorce papers on the day I get back from my father's funeral? I couldn't wait any longer. Your grief is too much drama for everyone involved. She gestured toward Derek like they were a team. I need to move on with my life. The lawyer started explaining community property laws and asset division procedures. Heather interrupted her to mention that she'd be seeking half of my inheritance from my dad, since we were still legally married when he passed away. It's only fair. I supported you through his illness. I deserve to be compensated for what I've contributed to this relationship. I stared at this woman I'd shared a bed with for 7 years, who I'd trusted with my deepest fears about losing my dad. She was sitting in our kitchen with another man, talking about my father's death like it was a business opportunity. That's when I realized I'd never actually known her at all. The lawyer handed me a card and suggested I contact my own attorney within the next few days. Derek, this stranger sitting at my kitchen table, advised that if I wanted to make this process easier on everyone, I should consider agreeing to Heather's terms rather than fighting them in court. They left me sitting alone with divorce papers and the sound of my dad's voice in my head, asking me to take care of Heather and give her his love. The next morning, I woke up in our guest bedroom, since Heather had apparently moved back into our house while I was at the funeral. She was making coffee in the kitchen like nothing had happened, humming some tune I didn't recognize. "We need to talk about logistics," she said without looking at me. "Derek thinks it would be better if you stayed somewhere else while we sort out the legal details." Derek thinks? I poured myself coffee from the pot she'd made. "This is my house too. Actually, it's going to be complicated. My lawyer says the mortgage payments might factor into the asset division, especially with the inheritance money coming in." She had it all figured out. The timeline, the legal strategy, the financial calculations. While I'd been sitting vigil in a hospital room, she'd been planning how to maximize her profit from my dad's death. I grabbed my laptop and drove to a coffee shop across town, needing space to think and make phone calls without her listening to every word. I called my brother-in-law Justin, married to my dad's younger sister. "She what?" Justin's voice cracked through the phone. "Jesus, she served you papers at the funeral?" "The day I got back. She was sitting in our kitchen with her lawyer and some guy named Derek." "Derek who? How long has this been going on?" That's when Justin told me something that made my stomach drop. Heather had called him 3 weeks before my dad died, asking casual questions about inheritance laws and whether assets received during marriage were considered community property. She'd been researching her exit strategy while my dad was dying in hospice care, which is how I ended up sitting in that coffee shop parking lot with a dead phone and a shaking hand, realizing my wife had been planning to rob me blind since before my father was even buried. Full story on my channel below.